The Ceridian UCLA Pulse of Commerce Index declined 1.4% in August, a very large decline. And that's on top of a July number that was also down 0.2%. These are alarming numbers, particularly in the context of a national debate about whether we're going to have another decline, another dip, we're going to have another recession in which there's further job loss and further decline in GDP. Well, it's best to remember that we've been through this episode before. In fact, after the last two recessions, we had sluggish economic growth, very similar to what we experienced right now. You can see that in this chart in which the recent PCI is flattening out, wiggling forward, very uncertain, unstable growth. Go back to 2003, and the PCI was doing exactly the same thing. We were trying to get some traction in the economy. GDP growth was very weak at that time. And it wasn't until we had the securitization of mortgages and we qualified huge numbers of households who otherwise wouldn't have qualified and brought them into home ownership, creating thus the housing bubble. It wasn't until that happened that we got out of the struggles that we had back in 2003. The same thing happened in 1992 and 93. The economy didn't have a source of economic growth. So our view is that the traditional indicators of downturns aren't there. An inverted yield curve, declining hours of manufacturing, plummeting housing starts, none of that is currently afflicting the U.S. economy. And we conclude, therefore, that a real dip is still very unlikely. But until we get a driver that can pull the economy forward, and hopefully this time not just a bubble, we can expect some uncertain, sluggish growth, GDP numbers in the range of 1 to 2%, when we've been hoping for 3 to 5%.